Who's ready for some Hulk? It sounds like based on a whole series of new reports, we are going to get a lot of the Incredible Hulk in the not-so-distant future. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about not only the potential for a World War Hulk movie, but a Hulk vs. Wolverine film that could lead us directly into Avengers vs. XMen. It sounds like Marvel has some huge plans for the mutant saga, and we could be headed to a showdown that's almost as big as Secret Wars. Well, if you follow this channel, you know one of the things that we've talked about many times is the Hulk. He has been one of the more nerfed characters in the MCU, and his rights with Universal Studios, well, that complicated the matter for a decade. Now, a little over a year ago, it was reported and seemed to be confirmed by contracts that were posted online that the distribution rights to the Hulk had indeed returned to Marvel Studios. Marvel has been able to use the character in multiple projects, but they couldn't do their own solo Hulk film without allowing Universal the option to distribute the film, which would have cut deeply into profits for Marvel and Disney, and that's why that has never happened. Now, once those rights seemed to return to Marvel, we started getting a whole series of reports about potential solo movies, one of them being World War Hulk, or really World War Hulks. Now, along with that, we started to hear even more rumbling that there could be a place for the Hulk in the future of the MCU, specifically facing off with Wolverine, something Hugh Jackman has talked about many times. So we're going to talk about these two things separately. Now, we've been hearing rumblings about a World War Hulk movie for a few years, and it seems like at this point Marvel has been putting the pieces in place, but it's not going to be the traditional World War Hulk movie we got in the comics. As I just said, this is likely to be World War Hulks, and if you look at the groundwork laid in not only She-Hulk Attorney at Law, but will be coming our way in next month's Brave New World, well, all the pieces seem to be in place. And this brings us to an update from My Time to Shine Hello. Now, as we always say, it's not from Marvel Studios or Kevin Feige, so we want to take it with a grain of salt. Additionally, My Time to Shine Hello has had a few misses, but the long-reaching track record has had some big hits. And with all the pieces in place, this one feels pretty solid. Now, My Time to Shine has confirmed that a World War Hulks movie is indeed in development, so it sounds like the project is finally starting to take off. Now, last summer we got a report from the Cosmic Circus that Marvel was working to set up this project, and this is why Bruce Banner teased how dangerous the Hulk's blood was way back in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and at this point we're going to see this come to life in the upcoming Captain America Brave New World in the form of the Red Hulk. Additionally, the circus reported that Marvel is looking to make a showdown between the Red Hulk and the classic Green Hulk, well, sooner than later, and this very likely could see the return of the Savage Hulk to face off with his red counterpart. All things fans should be super excited about. Now, like I said, this is a pretty big departure from the classic World War Hulk comic, which is very different than what Marvel is developing, but many of those things have already been used, specifically the gladiatorial arena aspects of the Planet Hulk story and the introduction of his son Scar, which happened at the end of She-Hulk. Now, turning the Hulk back into a savage kind of sets up the next part of the story, because earlier today, we started to get reports about a Hulk vs. Wolverine project that would likely tie into an Avengers vs. XMen. Now, this particular story comes from leaker Cryptic 4K Qual, who has been on the scene for several months, but definitely isn't as prominent as some of the other scoopers we've highlighted on this channel. Now, if you go back and look at their history, they've had some big hits. And with the response to that one little tease in Deadpool and Wolverine, well, a Hulk vs. Wolverine project feels inevitable. Now, in the report from Cryptic 4K Qual, they say, I'm told the next Hulk-oriented film most likely isn't going to be Hulk vs. Wolverine. Instead, Doomsday or Secret Wars will likely plant seeds for it, giving us a small one-round fight and a full brawl later on down the line. I was told there were talks about a Hulk vs. Wolverine film, but it's more likely to happen during the Mutant Saga if they 100% plan to make it. There's also a deeper reasoning for the fight to take place. It wouldn't be a half-assed cash grab just for people to come watch the fight. Now, he went on to say that this would tie into Avengers vs. XMen, and that's something once again we might get teased with in Doomsday or Secret Wars before we get a full-scale political war between the two factions of Marvel superheroes. Now, to me, all of this does seem to make a lot of sense, and he did flat out say that the next Hulk-oriented film wouldn't be this film and might very well be that World War Hulk film we were just talking about. the Hulk vs. Wolverine would be a great way to kick off a larger conflict between the Avengers and the X-Men. And honestly, guys, an Avengers vs. X-Men film, well, that has massive potential for the future of the MCU and honestly for the box office. Never underestimate the X-Men. They put butts in seats, and you have a whole generation of people who aren't even comic fans that would love to see the characters come back full force. Seeing them kind of have minor differences with the Avengers throughout Doomsday and Secret Wars and leading into this new soft reboot, kind of like Tony and Steve had problems through Age of Ultron leading into Civil War. Well, this is the kind of setup I think Marvel is going to give us, and then ultimately a massive showdown between some of our favorite characters. Honestly, all of these films, World War Hulks, Hulk vs. Wolverine, and Avengers vs. X-Men, all sound like a great idea for Marvel, and to me it sounds like they're going to finally put the Hulk front and center and maybe de-nerf the character, something they've needed to do for a long time. In any case, clearly there's a lot going on at Marvel Studios as they sort of readjust, and these projects absolutely sound like that kind of quality we want, but more importantly, it sounds like we're finally going to get some cohesive, interconnected storylines that were a huge part of the early parts of the MCU that really seemed lacking in Phase 4 and parts of Phase 5. This has pulled people out of theaters, willing to wait for it to come to streaming platforms, and I think with projects and names like these, well, people will line up and buy tickets. But how all this works out, we're going to have to wait and see. Now, before you take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, ring that bell for all the updates, and make sure you get every notification because we do daily Marvel and DC content and we don't want you to miss any news.